party.
Party! Aurora just ate, a handful of CBD treats while we were going to the bathroom one last time. So she's gonna be a very sleepy dog. She's like, I'm gonna dose myself up before we go on the road. So yeah, she's gonna be a sleepy dog. Other dogs are chilling. Someone's already found a spot on the couch. On the bed. Berm's on the couch, and Aurora's right here. But where are we going first, babe?
Somewhere.
Yeah, that's great.
Heading towards Canoga Bike Park.
Canoga Bike Park is our first stop. We just left Tim's parents' house, and yeah, we're getting after it. Probably gonna park in a Walmart to go to bed at some point. Maybe do a little grocery shopping. It's a super Walmart.
Funny thing is, there are definitely a few on the way. I think that's it.
Okay, do it one more time.
So, one of the things
we were just talking about how I went outside every day for an entire year, 30 minutes to an hour, depending on the activity. Sometimes it was like 2 hours, but just getting outside and doing these small steps.
And what I found interesting is I happened to be listening to a podcast that had Dr. Andrew Huberman on, who does a lot of brain neurology work and kind of like brain chemistry and understanding, trying to understand. And it kind of clicked in a way of like seeing what Danny did and how she was able to accomplish that, by doing something hard that you really don't want to do every day, whether it's like a small task. Those smaller little tasks actually lead to more positive development, even though it takes longer. It's more of like a marathon approach where a lot of people want instant results, or like do this 1 week thing to get there fast kind of stuff. You see it in ads and whatnot, and in reality, to build a solid foundation of your own home, like you can consider your body your home.
Cruiser bruiser. Sorry.
By doing something you don't want to do every day, you build up that foundation stronger, even if the results are not immediate. You might feel more tired at the initial part of the day or for the first couple weeks, or you may have a day where you get soaking wet and cold, or you're sick and you don't want to leave the couch. By doing something small every day that you don't want to do, whether it's making a phone call that you don't want to do, or doing some exercise, whatever you want to decide, by making those small steps over the course of a year, at the end of that year, you're going to be in a better position because your body will go, okay, it's no big deal to do something I don't want to do. We're going to find ways to try to approach the goal. And in a weird way, the goal isn't actually the finish line. The goal is to go into action towards something, to start making small steps towards something that you would like. And, whether, take it however you want, physical, mental stimuli, like spiritual, ideally all three, but find something that you would like to do but may be hard. Don't focus on the finish line of something. Take reward in the small steps that you take every day to try to get there. So not the ultimate end goal, but those small accomplishments are actually the more important factor than the bigger goal. Like that ultimate reward isn't really that important at the end of the day. It's that you are able to get up and start going towards something that you like, that you struggle with, trying to find ways to adapt yourself to being that little bit of uncomfortable. I struggle with it with certain things, and it was really cool to see in person somebody approach a challenge that seems uncomfortable and then continue to kind of persevere through it. and then hearing these things that end up linking together to put yourself in a better position. So it's something I myself can work towards after seeing Danny kind of work at it and, you know, struggle through it and accomplish it. But really, it's not the accomplishment, it's the process of being able to do it and kind of stick with it even when you don't want to.
And I think like a key piece of that was it wasn't like a lot. It wasn't super, like, I mean, for some people it would be a lofty goal, right? But for me, it was like not so lofty because I did spend most of my time outside prior. It just was like those really crappy days that I like had a hard time getting myself outside. But by breaking it down and having the small sustainable, like, you know, the small sustainable goal that I could do. And like, I did start the goal off with an hour and it did turn into like 30 minutes-ish. And I feel like being flexible in that was like a huge piece too. Like, not being like, all right, well, I didn't get an hour today, I got 30 minutes. So like, that means like my whole thing's done, right? It didn't work. I just like adjusted it a little bit to fit my needs. And you know, some days, like I was saying earlier, I would spend 2 hours outside instead of like an hour. So it leveled itself off. But I just feel like you said, people want that like fast, easy, like quick results. And what's more sustainable is like those small steps, right?
And I think what's important about what you said, and I don't even realize I don't even think you realize that you said it, but being able to move your goalposts to your comforts, to set for your own self. Don't set your goalposts off of somebody else's expectations of you or whatever that goal is. Like, you know, find a way to change it to yourself, how you're feeling on that particular day. Like, if you're really struggling and it's like, okay, I really don't like making phone calls, but I have to make these 4 phone calls. Well, maybe you're not able to, but if you can make 1 or 2 of those phone calls, like, okay, I did that. Or say you're really struggling on the bike. If you're not feeling it, it's like, I had this expectation of like, we're going to go do a bigger ride today, and you know you're not feeling good. Maybe change that perspective to be like, instead of focusing on like not being able to do that big ride that you do, maybe take pride in the fact that you were able to get a ride in at all. And change that perspective a little bit to be like, okay, some riding is better than nothing. So if I can do something towards X, Y, and Z, I'm going to be better than if I did nothing towards X, Y, and Z. Because at the end of the day, it's a lot easier when you get in the habit of saying, I'm not going to do this or I'm not going to do that. The more you do that, the harder it becomes. And that's kind of what I struggle with, this paralysis of, you know, decision making or having to like fill things. Is like, if I go up to a drop and like have to analyze it so much, it's like, if I look at it, the more and more I look at it, you know, like between, you know, having a fear of heights and certain perspectives, or like thinking of worst case scenarios instead of being like, okay, confident in the decision, the more I look at it, the harder it gets. So it's like being able to develop a process of like, okay, we did this is similar to that, these similarities should carry through, so we'll be able to approach it and be successful doing this. So creating these like metaphors in your brain of visualizing similar things that you've done. So it's like, oh, I did 1 call yesterday. Okay, 1 call is similar to 2. Let's do 2 calls. 2 calls are similar to 3. And when you get on that roll, you can do it. Or even like push-ups on the floor. Like, okay, let's start with like 1 push-up on your knees on the floor. I did 1 push-up. Let's do 2 tomorrow. I did 10 on my knees today. Let's do 1 fully off the ground. And like building small steps that are not the sexy steps, you know, they're not the cool things, they're not the fancy things, they're not the things that people want to post about, but they're way more important to your self-development. It's like, it's something I've learned the hard way, coming back from a lot of injuries, going from long periods of time where you're sedentary and having to build back. It's like, you want to build back so fast and be your old self, but with age and injuries, being able to redefine that end goal for yourself is more important than trying to get back to that old self. In a lot of ways, you'll become more successful once you do that. And, you know, I'm by no means successful or, you know, always always productive, but
don't put yourself down. Don't put yourself down.
It's something where
Crushing on the bike this year.
Where that acknowledgement alone is a good starting step to, getting to wherever that is, and that's, whatever thing interests you. I'm not going to put it to one thing or another.
I'm going to bring it back to just like the thing that you're talking about a little bit earlier is like the goalposts for yourselves, right? Not expectations of external people, external expectations of like where others are at, etc., but also like roadblocks, like, right? We all have roadblocks in life, like these things that like, create a lot of difficulty to do certain things. Like you were saying, injuries are definitely a roadblock to your success sometimes, but evaluating that roadblock and making those small steps that are like you're capable of in that moment is super important instead of just giving up, like you said. So I think those are like definitely really great like processes of getting yourself to where you want to be. So a lot of the rest of day one was just traveling. We drove for 10 hours and ended up at a rest stop where we slept